Fans, the franchise is one step away from making two strategic mistakes that could be costly in the fight for the NFC North. A young talent is about to be discarded without even getting a real chance, while behind the scenes, the front office is considering a last-minute move that could implode the defensive rotation. The decisions are displeasing to both the fans and some local media. Welcome! Show your support for the Bears by reaching 100 likes on today's video. The name in question is Xavier Carlton, and if Bears fans don't know him yet, they should get to know him now, before it's too late. The 6'6", 270-pound defensive end came to Chicago as an undrafted free agent after an impressive season at Cal, where he totaled 47 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. Even with those numbers, Carlton could be cut without ever competing for a real spot on the final roster, and that would be a colossal mistake by the front office. Carlton is, today, the typical diamond in the rough. He doesn't have the athletic explosion of a top 10 draft pick, but he has the physical build, tactical intelligence, and enough technique to fight for a spot in the defensive rotation. Still, according to analysts like Ryan Heckman, he appears at the end of the line among the defensive linemen in practice. In other words, he's at the exit door even before training camp kicks off. This situation is reminiscent of franchises' neglect of raw but promising talents, the same mistake the Bears made in the past with players like Jonathan Bullard and Cornelius Washington. What's most infuriating for many analysts is that Carlton is being overlooked for names like Daniel Hardy and Dominique Robinson, two players who haven't recorded a single sack in 2024. The question that begs to be asked is simple. What have these veterans delivered so far that justifies blocking the development of a young player like Carlton? The uncomfortable but obvious answer is nothing. Loyalty to proven players is weighing more heavily than the logic of performance and potential. The argument against Carlton seems to revolve solely around his undrafted status. But the NFL is full of examples of UDFAs who became stars, from James Harrison to Arian Foster. Carlton doesn't need to be a Pro Bowler. He just needs to be a competent edge in the rotation. And, considering the hole that still exists in the Bears' pass rush, the very idea of cutting someone with his college production sounds at least incoherent. From a tactical standpoint, Carlton could fit perfectly into third down packages and pressure situations, especially lined up opposite Montez Sweat. His wingspan makes it difficult for opposing quarterbacks to throw straight passes, and his bull rush power is useful against weaker offensive lines. With proper development and rotation, he could be useful as early as 2025. Another key point is economics. Keeping a player like Carlton on the roster, even as developmental, costs much less than taking a risk on short-term veterans with inconsistent production. And if the front office's plan is to bet on the future, letting go of a raw and inexpensive talent seems like a dangerous contradiction. Fans are starting to see the risk. In forums and on social media, names like Carlton are popping up as constant requests for preseason. Many recall that it was precisely during training camp games that unexpected talents like Jack Sanborn emerged. The message is clear. If you don't have a surplus of pass rush, you can't afford to let go of any promising player. If the Bears genuinely want to build a competitive roster in the NFC North, they need to stop prioritizing names and contracts and start focusing on performance and potential. Carlton may not be a star, but he has the physical tools and numbers that indicate at the very least a real chance. Cutting him without testing would be a technical and strategic error. And the irony is cruel. While they prepare to cut Carlton, the franchises behind the scenes suggests an opposite move, going after another edge rusher via trade. A contradiction that reinforces the disorganization of the current strategy. The name currently in the spotlight off the field is Ryan Poles. The Bears' general manager, who has already had a busy offseason with the additions of names like Montez Sweat, Dayo Odeyingbo, and Grady Jarrett, may not be done making moves. According to Bleacher Report, there is a growing expectation that the Bears will still seek another edge rusher via trade before the start of the season. And here comes the controversy. The need for reinforcement in the pass rush is clear. Even with Sweat and Odeyingbo projected as starters, the Bears are still living under the trauma of 2024, when they bet on Darrell Taylor as a line complement and saw the plan sink with a pitiful total of 3 sacks for the season. Taylor was cut, and now Poles faces deja vu. The pass rush still doesn't scare anyone, and the rotation remains shallow. But is the answer in the market? Today, the speculated names include veterans at the end of their careers like Jadeveon Clowney, Za'Darius Smith, Von Miller, and Matthew Judon. All have respectable resumes, but they also come with injuries, age, and a visible decline curve. Clowney, for instance, has been on 6 teams and struggles to maintain consistency. Miller has not been the shadow of his former self over the last 2 years. Smith is still delivering numbers, 9 sacks in 2024, but the cost could be high for a 32-year-old player. The question then is it really worth investing resources, picks, or cap space to bring in a player with questionable impact? Especially when the team has young players like Austin Booker on the rise. Booker, by the way, is being pointed out as a breakout candidate this season. Still, relying on a second-year player to solve the pass rush is a risk that Poles seems unwilling to take. The problem with this hesitation is structural. The Bears' defense has improved significantly on paper, but it still lacks a defensive closer, someone who finishes games. And without constant pressure on the opposing quarterback, the entire defensive system suffers. The NFC North is becoming increasingly pass-oriented, with offenses like the Lions and Packers evolving at a rapid pace. If Chicago doesn't pressure quarterbacks like Jared Goff and Jordan Love, they can forget any dreams of a division title. Poles' dilemma is clear. Take the risk with the names he has, including promises like Booker and even Carlton, or go to the market and seek a ready solution, even if it's aged. The cost of the second option could be extremely high and even compromise medium-term planning. And, ironically, this brings us back to the error mentioned in the first news. If there is money and urgency to bring in veterans, why discard promising young players like Carlton without real tests? The answer may lie in a misaligned philosophy. While Poles' rhetoric speaks of gradual building, many actions indicate immediate desperation for results. The franchise wants to win now, but without giving up pieces of the future. This contradiction, if not resolved, could explode this season. The fan base, as always, is divided. Some call for impact names to win now, while others prefer to keep the young players and build something solid. But everyone agrees on one point. The front office needs to stop shooting in all directions. Is the team stronger? Yes. But without a clear decision-making line, the Bears could get lost in premature cuts and misguided trades. The Bears are at a critical point in roster building. Cutting Xavier Carlton without even evaluating his potential would be a classic mistake of a franchise that doesn't know how to develop talent. And at the same time, pursuing a veteran in the market without guaranteed impact could repeat recent mistakes. The balance between planning and urgency needs to be reestablished, or the 2025 season runs a serious risk of being marked by frustrations and regrets. And you, Bears fan, do you believe Carlton deserves a spot on the roster, or do you trust more in a veteran name via trade? Is the front office right in its priorities, or has it lost sight of the line between present and future? Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more hot analyses straight from Chicago.